freezer. Probably better to eat it from the fridge, but it's 1:20 in the afternoon. This was the first thing I'm eating all day today. Hi everyone, it's Katerina, and I was just coming at you real quick to just do an intro for my quick bone broth video. I actually do make bone broth, not all the time. It does last a while for me. I've made it from chicken bones, and I am currently in this quick video that I'm doing going to be making it with some lamb and a couple beef bones. Now, bone broth in general contains, it's an amino acid. I believe it's called glycine. I could be saying that wrong, and I do know that it's not something that's easily found in our regular foods and diet. But glycine promotes stronger hair, healthier skin and nails, and what I like about it the most is that it helps with digestion or gut issues. I actually have IBS and other really bad gut issues. I enjoy the fact that this is something that can help with that. I also know that, especially depending upon how much salt you do put in it, that it is a good source of sodium. So if you're looking for ways to, replenish your electrolytes, bone broth is a good way to do it. Now, I don't generally, I don't drink bone broth, even though I know a lot of people recommend it. I use it when I'm cooking, especially if I'm making a pot roast or something in the crock pot. I will put the bone broth in there to cook it for the liquid. I also used the bone broth when I made my gizzards, and it was great both times. I've used it. It's been really, really, really delicious. I suppose you could also use it to saute or cook something with if you wanted to. I've just been kind of using it as the added liquid to recipes. But please excuse the kind of bad lighting. I did do this rather early in the morning. As I am a working from home parent with 2 school-age teenage boys, I have to fit things in when I can get them in. So I'm in my pajamas. The lighting is not perfect, but it's a super easy recipe, and for me it works perfect every time. So hopefully this is something that you might want to try too. Okay, so I have my pressure cooker here. I actually just have this kind of mesh strainer. It just helps to pull out the bones, otherwise I'm scooping them out individually, and that's kind of a pain. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit all these bones in here, but I'm definitely going to give it a shot. I may have to save some of them for another one, but maybe not. I did not roast these. Oh yeah, these will fit. I did not roast these beforehand. A lot of people suggest that you do. I've seen numerous recipes out there that call for it, but I have made it this way and it turns out really great, and I don't have any issues with it. So I'm going to guess that this is probably somewhere around 2 to 3 pounds of bones. And then this is, I use filtered water, so this is actually 8 cups of just filtered water. It's nothing, nothing's added to it. And then I'm going to add, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and a tablespoon or maybe a little more of I use Redmond's sea salt. I've actually been using Redmond's for years. This was not something that I just started because of the carnivore diet. I just like it, and just kind of sprinkle that in there. You could add more or less to taste. This is what's really good for me. And then I just have organic apple cider vinegar with the mother, and I'm going to actually just add 2 tablespoons of this to it. I have again seen some that add way more than this. I've even seen some that have like a half a cup in there. I don't know if that makes a difference or if it's just a matter of taste, but I think the apple cider vinegar helps maybe break down the collagen in the bones, but this worked out very well for me, so I'm gonna just continue with the way that I have it. And then I'm just gonna put my lid on. Okay, so I've got it in here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pressure cook it on high for 2 hours. And that again turned out perfect for me. And then I'm gonna let the pressure cooker do its thing. It just, everything is perfect. I do have it on high pressure. I know you probably can't see that because the way the camera doesn't film the display well, but this is it. Now it's gonna go ahead and come up to pressure, and at the end of the 2 hours, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. So I just get as big a one of these as I can, and remove this over here. I don't try freezing any of it until it cools off a little bit more anyways, so I'll do that later once it cools off. And I just use one of these. This is a very fine mesh, and I just stick it in here. And this is still kind of warm, but I mean, my hands have gotten used to this. And I don't mind any of the little, like, really the pieces don't bother me, but sometimes there'll be like bigger pieces of meat or bone or something in there, and I'm just making sure that that's not in there is all. So you see, I didn't get a whole lot of it out there. I don't know if you can see or not, but this is the finished product. Now I'm gonna let it cool for a little bit, just a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it, like I said, into a couple of these to freeze, just so that I can have some pucks for small things, and then the rest of it's going to go into some canning jars. Here are my canning jars. Now this does not pour well. I don't know why, but this is a Pampered Chef bowl and it just doesn't pour out well. And so I just mix it up a little bit just to make sure that some of that fat on the top is getting into all of the parts. And generally, if you have a good one of these that pours better, you don't have to do this part of it right here, but every time I do it, it just makes a big ginormous mess, and I already have to clean up enough messes. I got a bunch of boys in the house. I'm the only girl, and I could just put a little more in this one, and there she is. And once she's completely cooled off, I will put her in the fridge. It smells amazing. It smells, well, so this one is a lot of lamb. There is a little bit of beef in here. This one is very lamby, and I can smell that. So if lamb isn't your thing, then maybe, you know, just use beef. But I happen to like lamb, and it's one of my more favorite of the meats. I don't really know why that is, but I like the taste. I guess maybe because growing up it kind of reminded me, back when I was really young, my brothers used to hunt, and they used to get deer all the time, venison, and wild turkeys and stuff. And I don't know, because again, I've never really been much of a meat eater. Even when I was young, I never really cared so much for it. I did love my fruits and vegetables, I always have. But I just, for whatever reason, because it doesn't taste like venison, but for whatever reason it just makes me think of that. And it could just be that I'm nostalgic a lot lately. You know, my mom passed away recently in the last few months, and just I've been feeling just real nostalgic and sad. But I'm going to see if I can't fill up at least one more. I guess I don't need to do both of them. But it is nice to have these little pucks, because they, sometimes you don't want a whole bunch, and I also don't go through it really fast. So I do like to keep some in the refrigerator. It doesn't have a real long life in the refrigerator, so it's best to freeze it up when possible and not make messes like I keep doing. So, gosh, I definitely don't need that much. And I'm gonna actually just go ahead and put these guys right in the freezer. Hopefully nobody opens the freezer fast. Okay, was a little hairy. So now I don't need this whole big jar. I'm gonna pour this into a smaller one. And this guy. And now I have 2 jars that are going to be ready to put in the refrigerator. If I decide I want to make more pucks, I can do that once this batch comes out. I don't have any more of those trays. So that's it. That's how you make bone broth, or at least how I make bone broth, and what I'm gonna do with it when I'm done. I'll show you the pucks when they come out of the freezer so you can see, and then I just put them in a Ziploc bag and then keep them in the freezer. That makes it the most convenient for me. So, hey there. So I actually made this bone broth the other day in my pressure cooker, but you know what? Life happens. I got busy. I work full time. I got a bunch of boys to raise, so I put the bone broth in these puck molds like this. I have these just real thin puck molds, and put it in the freezer and promptly forgot about it. That's life. That's how it goes, right? I mean, this is real. This is realistic what we do here. So I'm just gonna pop all these out of here and put them in another Ziploc bag. This was the one that actually had my ones from earlier in it that I used in a roast, so I'm just gonna reuse my bag. So I just pop them out real easy. They're not big at all. They're just the perfect right size. I think, again, I haven't started drinking this yet, but I do think that this would probably be a good size for a nice little warm cup. I suspect that at some point I'm going to actually get to the point where I do that, but it's still one of the things I struggle with. So I'm going to go ahead and get them all in this bag right here, and they just fill up this. Now, I honestly don't know how long these would be good for in a freezer. Maybe a month. I don't really know. If you vacuum seal them, probably a little bit longer, but I've been trying to incorporate them as much as I can into everything, so they don't last me even a month in here. So those little molds that I showed you, I actually got those to make these little buggers right here. I don't know, hopefully it'll focus on it. These are beef bacon butter cookies. It's actually just butter, some bacon grease, bacon, and some leftover chuck roast that I had. And I made brown butter out of it. I have a quick video that I'll post later about these, but this, I don't know if it'll focus, is what those actual molds were for. They're frozen. I took it out of the freezer. Probably better to eat it from the fridge, but it's 1:20 in the afternoon. This was the first thing I'm eating all day today. These taste delicious. Stay tuned for that video. Well, there you go. So, like I said, super easy. Basically, the Instant Pot does all the work for me. I did end up, as you saw, freezing some of the pucks and putting them in a bag that I labeled in my freezer for smaller amounts that, would last longer. And then the rest of it I put in jars and did stick in my refrigerator. I already knew that I was going to be making a roast later this week, so I did want some for that. And I'm still working up the courage to heat this stuff up and drink it like tea, but I'm just not there yet. If anybody has any suggestions or comments on ways to make that a little bit easier for somebody that is a new carnivore and not used to eating meat or chicken soup or those type of things, I would love any type of suggestions. But otherwise, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. If anything that I'm doing speaks to you in any way, I would absolutely adore it if you would subscribe and follow along. I totally appreciate all of your comments and especially your encouragement. And until next time.